here it comes, the bus.
Wait, who has a Metro card? I lost my Metro card. You got both of them, Jay?
No.
I lost it.
I put it in this pocket. It's right here, you think?
Oh.
Hi. Come. We're gonna get the picture, the video of the nasty ass looking bus driver. And here are some Spanish people.
He gonna tell you don't do that.
It look like you did.
Hold on. Hold on. He look like he's sucking mad dick right now. Hold on. Put your leg right there.
Oh, see, I don't got it now.
I paid. $225. Black people in the back, like Rosa Parks. White people in the front. Right.
They both right, Jay. Oh, shit.
Look, we got a Muslim in here. Tony dropped his eggs.
Okay, thank you. I feel like I got mad shit in my pants. Like, be careful. Why y'all call y'all juniors, but where I live at, it's called West Indies? You see it?
Yeah.
It said juniors.
It says juniors, but in our hood it's called West Indies.
Look at Tony, he got TJ on his hat.
Right, TJ.
But he's not a junior. I don't know why.
Though. My father's name is Tonio.
Look at the inside of his hat, bad dirty.
Queen.
Oh, it looked dirty from the side.
Oh,
It did, because the black was reflected on him.
I know, right?
Nigga trying to play me.
Tony drinking his mad. I was just about to say that. Nasty ass Arizona.
You're sipping on it, though, right?
That shit tastes good.
Yeah, this what people in jail go after they got.
That's called the Rena Center.
That's sad. That's fucked up.
You didn't go there?
I ain't never been arrested.
Yes.
My mom been arrested before.
So what?
She ain't come home until 2 months later.
So what? Why am my mama business? She sold drugs to make sure I had clothes.
Alright.
My mom gave it up like crazy now.
Cut it off.
It's your penis.
I miss Smokey.
Let me get some of that.
I miss Smokey, seriously.
What is that? You got doodle?
My hamster, Smokey.
Yo, somebody smells like
Hot sauce?
Who smell like?
What's up, the sex, Tony?
Yeah, I do. Y'all see my mustache?
See mine?
You see my unibrow?
My shit coming in nice.
We all see that. Let me get some blood sacks.
She took it. I didn't get to finish the rest of my bottom lid. So what? I got some Jay-Z lips.
Where Beyonce? She is light skinned.
She wish she was Beyonce.
Yes,
She more like Solange.
Yo, y'all know she bald headed?
Oh yeah, she did. She look nice.
You see her?
I see her on Sarah Banks. She look mad nice. It look nasty.
No, it does smell like hot sauce.
It do smell like hot sauce.
Who was in hot sauce, man? Y'all just nasty people.
Tony, it look like your finger got no blister on it. He rubbing like.
He's not even touching this up, but he's touching around her.
Would y'all be mad if y'all knew I had a cold sore?
You ain't check my eyes, dude.
Nah, I ain't got no cold sore. I'm mad lucky. I never had one though. Thank you God.
I did.
Twice.
Once. Alright, well, the Sunday is off now. We're gonna start doing some bullshit when we get to the mall. So how you turn this shit off? How you turn this shit off?